Fakt, že 3 minuty časa. Okay. Go live.
Going live. We're live. Great.
Hi there, good people of YouTube.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 5th webinar of Mix Analog. I'm Bojan. This is Ziga.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about Mix Analog. So,
yeah, we have quite a few, let's say, interesting and nice chat topics to cover today. And what should we start with?
I think we've skipped the previous webinar, so there's quite a bit of material.
Yeah, sure.
So the last one was at the museq, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very fun and nice experience, meeting all of the people again, the manufacturers and dealers, and of course everyone else. Big show. But since then, we've been quite busy.
Yeah, on different parts of the numerous fronts.
So I think let's begin with gear. There's something that people probably like the most.
Yeah, that was one big announcement and one big, let's say, big leap forward for Mix Analog, because we released the second branded piece of gear on our platform, and that is the Elysia's museq.
Yep.
And we are very, very proud of it, because it was, let's say, a bit of a I don't know, kind of a challenge, or how else to put it, because the thing is, the guys at Elysia are very, very nitpicking about how
in a good way. I mean,
yeah.
it's their baby, of course, and they've built an entire company on products that have no chips inside, so it's just transistors and diodes and stuff like that. So all discrete Class A stuff. Even the power supply is made that way. So, of course, they wanted.
I was trying to say that the level of quality that they expect is like top notch. They will not go for anything that's not absolutely perfect.
Yep.
And we are so glad that they are happy with how it turned out, because it's also, let's say, a pat on our backs.
It's a stamp of approval. Let's say. I don't believe, if someone else would have told you that we've done a good job, that's nice. But Elysia saying you've done a good job in electronics,
exactly.
That's something next level, at least for us. So a nice milestone, great product to work with, great team to work with. The Elysia guys have been great. There is more gear from Elysia coming up. I think we can already say that the compressor will be joining the ranks. We haven't received it yet, but all of the preparations are happening right now at Elysia. And we are, hopefully, this year, going to get an alpha compressor. If things go as planned, then you will be able to use for the first time over the internet, what is it, at $10,000?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. The box is huge. I think that the automation itself is going to take quite a long time, because it really is packed with all the different controls and everything. So this is going to be one behemoth of a project. But I cannot wait to hear that, because I think it's actually this museq was the first hardware piece of gear that I've heard from Elysia, and I was just floored. Because the quality, I've never expected an EQ to be able to do that. So it's really they know their stuff, and they've been around for some time. So I guess it goes hand in hand, right? What I wanted to say is, in the past we've had quite a bit of our own gear, and I don't think we ever officially said so openly. That we are definitely transitioning to a Mix Analog that will have more and more branded gear. So we are approaching a lot of manufacturers about
getting their stuff online on Mixanalog. So this is just the beginning. We now have BetterMaker and Elysia, but of course there will be more manufacturers in the coming months. So hopefully, even this year, I hope we will have at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
yeah, working on it, and so far so good. People are very interested and keen to put their analog machines in the cloud, so you guys can have a go at them.
Yep.
So, what's next? Subscriptions, I guess?
Yeah, for the starters.
Yeah.
So yeah, subscriptions are now finally live.
Yeah.
We've been talking about them for quite some time, and I don't know if you're anxiously or eagerly awaiting them, but now they are here.
Yep.
Just by the looks of how things are going, I think they caused just a little bit of confusion.
Unfortunately.
So, well, I think that now might be a good moment to actually take a look at them and just explain what everything means.
Sure. Why don't you take it away then?
Yeah. So I'll just switch
to the browser.
Here.
Yeah,
okay.
Here we go.
So, where you can access your subscriptions is in your personal profile tab in the app, and at the plan setting you can go to change, and there you will have your subscription plans laid out. So at the moment we have three different plans.
Yeah, 4 if you count the pay-as-you-go
Yeah,
non-subscription plan.
The default one.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually the basics is you pay X amount of your local currency,
Yep.
which is displayed in Danish kroner
For us.
right now
Here
because
in
we're in
Denmark.
Denmark right now.
And we'll maybe talk a little bit about that later, because we're, I think for the first time, we're showing off this amazing place that we're in. So let's first do the subscription, but then we should talk about SoundHub.
Sure.
All right.
So yeah, this number is going to be displayed in your nearest local currency that we support.
If we do support, we support about, I believe, about 25, maybe 30 different currencies. They're everything like from Swedish kroner to like rupees and rubles even, and so lots of stuff, lots of different currencies, and we've so you will be able to check out in your local currency if it's supported.
Yeah.
It defaults to euros, I believe. So if it's not supported, then you will be checking out in euros.
Yeah. So actually, the subscription works pretty much the same as any other subscriptions.
Yeah, pretty much.
You get X amount of goodies for Y amount of money.
Yep.
And what you're getting here is the MAT tokens. So this is mixed analog tokens. Those are the those coins that you use for booking gear. Of course, to get a let's say bigger portion or a discounted price if you buy every month.
Exactly.
Then the other goodies are your storage space goes up.
Yep.
So if you plan on storing your sessions for a longer time or doing multiple sessions or big files or whatever.
Or if you're just bouncing a whole album worth of tracks, and you will be doing that in 192 kilohertz quality, that might be already putting some pressure on the default storage space. So maybe in that case you'll need it. Or if you need your files for a longer period of time and you want to go back to them after a month or two, then it's worthwhile that they're already uploaded, because then you don't need to upload them again. So the more storage space you have, the more options you have. So.
Sure. The other thing that your subscriptions can unlock is the HAL sample rates.
Yep.
So if you really want to go up to this 192K, you'll have to spend a little more.
Just the way it is, yeah.
And the last one was, I think, the most confusing.
Definitely.
Just by judging from the response on the support chat that we got, is the minutes of free gear per day that you get
right. So
by subscribing.
So maybe let's spend a few minutes about that.
So I think that the easiest way to show it is here.
In the booking,
In the booking. So if I want to book the 1176, which is labeled as free, this pop-up here tells me that I've already booked more than half an hour of free gear today. So I have to pay 6 mats because this slot is running out.
Yeah, it seems it's a very small price.
Yeah, but this is kind of us enforcing fair use policy.
Exactly.
For people not to book 4 hours of free gear and not twist a single knob.
We spoke about the fair use policy, I think 1 or 2 webinars back, and it was put in place so that people wouldn't cheat the system, or even worse, lock you know, like real users who actually are using this system out of using it because they just blocked out 3 or 4 hours of time and then did nothing with that, or never even showed up for their sessions. So, you know, we need to have some checks and balances for that. So a half an hour was chosen as a good kind of middle ground where you, if you like really want to do things on a budget, you can, on a free budget even. So if you're doing a few stems, you know, you can definitely get 2 15-minute slots with, let's say, the 1176, and then another 2 slots with the Fairchild and so on in one day. And then you can do that again the next day. And I see a few people are already catching on to that idea, and we have a few people happily, you know, spending no money, but actually getting results from Mix Analog, and that's, you know, that's great.
Yeah, so that's the purpose of this.
Exactly, that's the purpose of the free tier gear, so that you can get something, you know, some value out of it, but not damage other people's experiences. So,
the subscriptions.
The subscriptions
simply higher this fair use policy limit.
Yeah.
So instead of locking you out after or demanding payment after half an hour, the system is gonna start billing you after 45 minutes or
60 minutes.
Or 60 minutes.
Yes. So you can get 1 hour of each of the free products that we have per day if you take the largest plan.
And the limit resets in 24 hours,
exactly,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Per gear.
Yeah, so it's not after and before midnight, but it's in 24 hours.
Yep.
Okay, I think that is... Let's go back.
I think we should still say a few things about subscriptions, in that the perks that are right now in the subscriptions. So if you go under profile, so the perks right now, they're not actually, you know, the ordinary plan, the pay-as-you-go plan is not actually enforced right now. We're like in the middle of a grace period where you guys are, you know, encouraged to look at this and get used to the idea that there will be eventually a limit on storage space, a limit on sample rate, and but okay, the limit on the free gear is already enforced, but the other two are not. So you can have more than 1 gig of storage space used up right now, and that's fine. And of course, you can use 192K right now if you want to, but sooner or later we will get around to enforcing that. So you will need a subscription to unlock those perks.
You have been warned.
You have been warned, indeed. Yeah, we don't, you know, we have to encourage you a bit to go into the subscriptions. And one last thing maybe about the subscriptions is they are, you can take a monthly one, or you can take an annual one. So if you take a monthly one, then let's say today is, I'm not sure, which day is it? 16th, 17th? I don't know.
It's 17th.
Wow. I usually don't get those numbers right. So you'd pay now, and for example, if I took a producer plan today, I would get 800 MAT immediately, and I would get 800 MAT again on the 17th of next month.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would pay today, and then I would pay again in a month, and it's automatic. So Once this is set up with PayPal or your credit card, the payment's done automatically like a normal subscription, and you get MAT credited to your profile on this every 17th in this case. And what I wanted to say is, the mats there don't go away if you don't use them up. So they accumulate. So if you're on tour or something and you haven't come back to Mix Analog for 2 months, but you do have an active subscription, then all those mats will be waiting for you to do that nice big project that you've been preparing on tour. So I think that's all I had to say about subscriptions, but feel free to chime in if there's anything else.
No, I think we've covered it all.
All right.
We had one question.
Let's take a look at the question.
From a viewer. Actually two.
Wow.
So good. The first one, do you guys think you'll ever introduce analog synthesizer? We are
we hope so.
Hoping so, that we will actually include analog synthesizers in our system.
I think a similar question was in the first webinar, and I think that still stands, is that we are probably first going to do guitar amps. So it's studio gear today, guitar amps in the future, and then synths after that.
Yep.
I think.
I was already reading the next question.
So
and it's can I get one of the subscription plan if my mat run out on 1 month? Can I buy extra mat without changing my subscription plan?
Of course,
sure,
definitely. And we've been toying with the idea to make the mat purchases also be cheaper if you are on a subscription. So unfortunately, that's a bit hard to do with the checkout system that we have. But yes, definitely, if you do run out of the mat, you can get mat at any point. So under the profile page where there's buy more, or on any page on the upper right corner where there's an add button, you can use that at any point.
Yeah,
so feel free to do that. Yeah,
I think you're
not locked to the amount of mat that you get.
So yeah, if you go to this button up here, all those offers of one-time purchases are still perfectly fine. So I would say that if you find out that you are a returning customer that uses X amount of mat every now and then, and if this amount at least partially fits the subscription, you're probably perfectly okay taking the subscription because you're gonna get more mats out of it.
And so there's perks
and other perks,
and the mats are cheaper. So there's a lot of reasons to do this. And to be honest, we're doing this mostly because we want to make Mix Analog a bit more easy to project into the future, so that the more of you guys that are on subscriptions, the easier it is for us to reason about how much are we going to make in a month. Again, let's just check, are we back?
Yep, I think we are.
Okay. Reason about the financial future of Mix Analog, and that makes it easier for us to do investments into new gear and upgrading of gear and so on. Quite a lot of these things cost a lot of money, and it's not hard to say, if we know that we'll be getting some subscriptions in for the next 3 months, then that's so much easier to say, okay, yeah, let's grab that EMT plate, let's put it online, it's fine. We can pay for it. So yeah, if it makes economic sense to you to use Mix Analog right now, then, and you are using X amount of mat per month, do consider the subscriptions. And if you do have some feedback on them, like if they're too expensive or if they are not giving the amount of mat that you would like, so if you need something in between or something, just let us know in the online chat, and we'll see if we can get you sorted.
Yep. Sure.
So all of these things are, quite negotiable.
We are still
still figuring this out.
Still a startup and pretty small team of people.
Yep.
So we are very flexible about anything.
Yeah. So this is our first attempt at subscriptions, and it seems that they are okay, but would like to get some feedback, see if that's what you guys wanted.
Okay, so with subscriptions covered,
Yeah,
I think.
Maybe we can talk about the place. It's getting rowdy in the background anyway, so it's as good a time as any.
Yeah.
So this is Sound Hub, a interesting place in the what's northwest of Denmark.
I think it's actually called Midtjylland, so it's
so middle,
yeah, middle Denmark.
But it's nice. It's at the coast, in a small city called Struer. There are a few factories here, like Harman and Bang & Olufsen, that specialize in loudspeakers and sound stuff in general. So they've converted an old factory building here that used to be an R&D center for Bang & Olufsen. They've converted it into a startup space, actually quite a big one. It's 3,000 square meters of, more or less brand new space. So it's all been refurbished a lot. And we've been guests here for a month or so, I believe. No,
yeah,
maybe
I think
2 months.
It's more like 2 months already.
It's more like 2 months already.
Time flies here.
Feels like a second home. They've really taken care of us, and there are quite a few very interesting startups here that share the space with us. And as you can probably see, it's got this very nice industrial aesthetic. I really dig it. And the interesting thing is moving 1,400 kilometers up north. We're actually still having a lot of sunshine and
I was, to be honest, I wasn't expecting that. Well, it's windy a lot, but all in all, I think weather is kind of similar than we're used to in Ljubljana. So it was quite a cozy landing.
True enough.
Right here.
Yeah, it's a large space. Hey, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Sound Hub more or less in a nutshell. Yeah. It's a great space for startups, and quite a few people here know a lot about sound or about business or have huge networks. And of course, Tube Tech is not far away. That's okay. Giraffe Audio is quite close as well. So
actually closer than Tube Tech.
Yeah, true. And and so is TK Audio is not far away.
Sure.
So there are quite a few very interesting brands around here. Some of them large multinational sound brands, and some from like really our industry, from professional audio. So it's a good place to be, I think. Yeah. In the center of all of this.
Well, most of Scandinavia has a long-standing tradition of pro audio. So that's...
Yeah, there's DAD.
Yep.
And then there's their predecessor that used to make like this really great limiters for broadcast.
NTP.
Yeah. Those are amazing. You can find them on eBay every now and then. Those are just... amazing, but small, like unassuming devices. You'd never say that this is like a really, really good brick wall emitter, but it is, and quite a few people have them racked up.
We just got a question if we are ever going to do a subscription service.
Yes.
Actually,
it landed.
Casey, I think. You just missed us for, let's say, 10 minutes?
He's following up, so. Our laptop is a bit far away, so we have to strain a bit to see your questions, but that's fine. Just ask if you have any questions.
Practically, when exporting out of your DAW, I would suggest, first of all, not clipping your...
What was the question?
The question was... when I export out of Ableton, what -dB volume do you recommend? I used to do -6 dB, and it's too quiet, I think. I would say it's not too quiet.
It depends if he's using an 1176. We've had some complaints that one's a bit like cold. I mean, calibrated on the cold side.
Yeah.
Like where you really need to crank the input game.
Yeah, we're actually thinking about recalibrating this unit, so you'll get a better...
travel of the input gain knob, because right now you really need to crank it for quieter material at least.
Yeah. But let's say general rule of thumb, I would say if you're peaking at -1, -2, it's no problem, because most of all the analog gear that we have online is taking the higher levels pretty much. Okay.
This isn't a bad segue into a question that I got, I think, yesterday. Or more like it was a question. And that the quality of audio deteriorates when you upload it to a cloud service. And it's such an interesting, loaded question, because, you can say generally, it might be the case, but not with us. And it's good to maybe go into why exactly that's not the case. Because, so a little bit of background, if you do take your recordings, your pristine recordings, your 24-bit, I don't know, 192K raw files, and you put those online into SoundCloud or into YouTube, they are not going to be sounding that well. Sorry?
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe we should answer the question and continue with, the encoding and everything.
Yep.
So just to finish off this, I think that the more important metric you should be looking at when exporting your audio from your DAW is the RMS level, because the compressors are going to react more to your RMS level than your peaking level. So make sure you're not clipping on the output.
Yeah.
And if your RMS level is somewhere around -16, I would say, then you're spot on. So don't be afraid to go too hot. And if you, for whatever reason, end up with an export that's a bit on the quiet side, you can still use the input trim control on the input-output unit to make up for the level. And actually today we have found a pretty nasty bug in the
in the way we handled clipping. So if you clipped the DA section of the audio I/O unit, you could actually get pretty weird behavior, and we fixed that to be proper clipping, a mathematically correct clipping. And we've deployed that today as a sort of hot fix. And so from today on, if you use the trim, the upper trim on the audio I/O unit that controls the gain of the signal before it hits the DA converter, you can actually clip that a bit if you like. It's not super bad like it was before.
Yeah, before the fix, it was so ugly that just one or a couple of samples into the clipping caused like a serious havoc, and it was
super weird,
irreparable damage that no analog device can solve. But now I think that you can easily get away with a little bit of clipping on practically every stage, because the output, so the clipping of the digital engine to the output of the converter has been solved, so it's not sounding ugly. Practically all the analog clipping that you can induce in our signal chains is probably not going to sound ugly.
Yeah, within reason.
Within reason. And clipping the AD converter can also be quite pleasant, if not overcooked.
Yep.
So we've made it even harder for you to screw up your recordings.
Yeah. So, or to maybe tell it a bit differently, now you can get even hotter results. You can go even further with gain and RMS level if that's your thing. So I think there's just more options now.
Yeah.
On how and where to clip.
We are not inviting you to clip your audio, because generally that's not a desired practice. But
sometimes you do.
Yeah, sometimes that's the sound you're going for.
Yeah.
And it's now even easier to achieve it.
Exactly.
And now let's get back to the encoding and sample rate conversion and codecs and everything.
So just quickly, there's this. It seems that there's still this perception that just uploading a file to a cloud somewhere will degrade the quality, and that's actually true for quite a lot of clouds these days. The reason is that they will take a file and stream it to a lot of people over a period of time. So if you put something on YouTube, the idea is that you will put on a file once, and then that file will play thousands, even maybe millions of times, and every byte, every bit of size that they can squeeze out of that file, every way that they can make it smaller, will actually save on the bandwidth costs that they will have when they're streaming this file to so many people. So
yeah, and it's not only about the bandwidth. The hosting services that are hosting those streaming platforms, such as SoundCloud, for example, actually charge SoundCloud for every byte of data that they stream.
So that's actually bandwidth.
Yeah.
So that's the bandwidth cost.
So and it costs actual money.
Exactly. So if they will be serving 1 megabyte file, then a price it could be a few dollars, and then if it's 10 times smaller, it could be cents. So there can be huge savings there, and of course they're optimizing for streaming to stream as many streams as possible. In that case, it makes sense for them to go into that direction, and that's the default way of thinking about audio and clouds nowadays, because it's more like archival and dissemination of audio. We, on the other hand, are very different. We're processing audio, and you will put a file in once, and then you will process it with our stuff, and then you will probably delete it at some point to make way for a new file, and only you will be listening to it, or at least we will only be streaming it to you. So there's like an entirely different math here on what kind of optimizations we're after. So instead of saving on bandwidth and disk space as such, we don't need that, and we can instead focus on sound quality. So we store all of your files in lossless quality, exactly the way you uploaded it. So if you upload a 32-bit wave at 192K, then that's the quality that we will save on the disks, and we won't touch that at all. And when we are streaming that to analog, of course, it's still in this format. When it comes back, you have a choice of sample rate all the way down to 44.1. The default is 192, which is what we use internally for all processing, but it's also lossless. So at no point do we compress it into a lossy format for downloads. So the results you get are always going to be lossless. But the streaming might be lossy if you select it, but by default also that is lossless. So what I'm trying to say is that for example, with the peak level, so why this is a segue into this from the previous question is we are using a 64-bit internal resolution on the gains. So adjusting the gain, I mean, the peak level is not so important anymore because you have such a high internal resolution. And because everything in the signal chain is lossless and not compressed, then of course you can hit it with any level below 0 dBFS that you like, and that will all work seamlessly throughout the chain. So that was the idea. Why?
A comprehensive explanation.
Always. I love this thing. So
yeah, sure. And since we don't have other questions at the moment, of course, we are inviting all of you that
so if you have more questions,
happen
just
to be
ask.
watching.
Okay, getting back. Green. All right. Yep. I think we're getting back, but there's a new question, I think.
Okay, I think we are back. Okay, so the next question. For mastering a techno track, what kind of RMS do you recommend for exporting from your program?
That's definitely a question for you.
Yeah, I don't know if I read that correctly, but if you mean by that, I'll just cover both possible scenarios that I think are could be meant by this question. So, if you mean exporting from your DAW, it's in a way depends on what gear you want to use on our page. So if you are only going to use, let's say, the BetterMaker limiter, I would say that you should get the RMS level as high as you can without limiting and without clipping.
Yeah.
So if you are intending to use a compressor, a bus compressor, or a multiband on your master bus or something like that, easily do it and try to squeeze a lot of RMS without the limiting from your track, and then just finish it off with the BetterMaker. And I would be aiming for around -10 dB RMS on our upper left side meters. So the outer meters on our top left meter set in the application are showing RMS level, and I would aim for around -10 at that.
Cool.
So I think that covers both points of level.
Yeah, but that's for like the BetterMaker. But if you don't have if you don't do bus compression in the DAW, if you're planning to use our bus compression,
let's say you are trying to use the Rec one.
Yeah.
I would say go a little less loud. So don't push it too much on your master bus. You're still perfectly okay going out at -2 peak, but without bus compression and without multiband on your master bus in your DAW, you're in any way not going to get such a high RMS that you would go into saturation.
Yeah, unless you like squeeze the life out of every track individually beforehand anyway. But that's usually not the case, I hope. And in that case, the settings on all the boxes in the Rec one will easily accommodate for level differences of ±6 dB of the perfect sweet spot. Yeah.
So I think that just going out, not clipping, and not being at -10 peak, pretty much anything is going to be workable.
Yep.
And the next question was if we will implement a loose meter on the platform. I think that we really have to do it soon, because
we promised it so many times. There's always something, but I believe we can do it.
Yeah.
Sometime in the, I don't know.
Soon-ish.
What soon-ish? Is it weeks?
Yeah, weeks. I would say weeks. We can pull it off in weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Let's make a little promise.
Pinky promise.
Yes, we'll try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's aim for less than 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
But in the meantime, again, the RMS meter is very, very similar to momentary loops meter. It's a little bit faster because the VU meter, or the RMS meter that we have right now, has 300 millisecond averaging, and momentary loops has 400 millisecond averaging. So it's not all that different, and will give you very similar results. So if you're used to working on loops meters, you can, to a good degree, rely on the RMS meter, and you're going to end up in a pretty similar ballpark.
I just add a bit of a insight into where the platform is going. We're definitely going to work more and more on mastering. So we want to make sure that your analog mastering experience is covered, both in terms of like the different gear that you can choose from and the converters that we will always use top quality converters and the interconnects and everything, but also of course in the user interface where we want to give you the tools that a mastering engineer would need the most, and loop metering definitely qualifies for that. So in the future, I believe you can expect not only loop metering, but also a nice frequency analyzer and a few like goniometer for stereo picture and so on. So maybe a bit more specialized towards mastering, but definitely there will be more metering options.
And in the spirit of getting our service closer to a actually workable mastering setup, I don't know if we've talked about this a lot in the previous webinars, but we are also actively researching the possibility to implement plugins into our service. Because as much as we love the sound of analog gear, there is a lot of let's say
that you
tasks
can do.
that you want to do with your stereo material that analog equipment just can't do as well as digital ones.
Right.
For example, notching out
problematic frequencies. It's something best done in something like ProQ, to be honest. Yeah, to be honest. Yeah. So, like to get exactly as Ziga said, to get more in line with the modern setup that the mastering engineer would use. I think most mastering engineers these days are hybrid in terms of they are using some plugins, they're using some hardware, they're using top-notch conversion. They are very particular about their monitoring and interconnects and so on. And we kind of want to do that. So we want to give you the best interconnects and ADDA conversion and so on, but the tools, they're not just going to be analog, but we will clearly label what's what. So we don't, we really don't want you guys to second guess whether or not that museq is simulated or hardware. It should be very obvious. So there will be something like a special label and probably a special color, stuff like that, so that it will be very, very apparent when you're using something like software DSP processing or hardware DSP processing, or is it like real hardware, which is the case now. So except for digital output gain, everything else is analog. Yeah.
And the next question is there going to be offline bounds?
Yes, we've been promising also that one for some time. I think this is kind of a reckoning webinar where people are like, what about this? What about
reminding us
about stuff, and it's good. Yeah, please. It's fine to have some pressure. Yes, we want to do an offline bounce. The way we understand offline bounce is that you will be able to, within your session, queue up the settings like you can do already now. But at the end, when you would do the render, instead of the render time being taken from your live session time, you would just close your session. So you could actually just use all of your time just for tweaking, queue up the results of that tweaking, and then when you would just say, okay, instead of bouncing right now all of the 10 files that I've set up, I don't want to wait here for them to bounce. Just do that today whenever the system has time and email me the results, like a WeTransfer or something. So that's the way we understand offline bounce, and that's exactly what we have in mind to do, but I'm not sure when. Yeah, definitely this year, hopefully before like autumn or something, but yeah, this year at some point.
There's not a lot of us, so
unfortunately we're a very small team, so we try to prioritize a few things, and right now we really want to concentrate a bit on the bugs and get you more hardware so that you can have choice. and then these like quality of life things, like offline bounds and more metering options and so on. This is something that we will try to do in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like Mikko is happy.
That's great.
Okay.
So I think the next one to talk about is the new web page, actually.
Yeah, sure.
So we've been
I
working.
think I can just switch here.
For some time now.
There you go.
We've been.
Oh, shit.
No, not this one. Rawr.
Okay, like that.
Move us into that corner. Yeah,
cool.
That works. So for some time now, we've kind of known that web page isn't the best in like many ways. It's it's a bit outdated. It looks a bit old. It looks very dark and yeah, I don't know. There's just many things wrong with it, and we wanted to fix it so many times. And now it's even quite a lot of disinformation up there because the person who done it isn't with us anymore, and so on and so forth. So we decided to scrap that and go into a bit of a more into a different direction where we just make a new one and try not to spend more time fixing the old one. And so we wanted to make it simpler, easier to navigate, and also prettier, I guess, to look at, a bit more like hip and modern and so on. So this is kind of the working idea, the state in which it is right now. But we're kind of liking it. We're liking what came out, and we're thinking this is probably the concept we will be going with, and hopefully shipping this new website soonish. Yeah, so probably a week or two of polish left, and then we can change the old site for the new one.
So the biggest difference actually at the moment that you can see right here is, instead of a big, let's say, commercial or big picture of our system that does nothing, you actually land on your booking wizard.
Yeah.
So you can, let's say, speed up the process of getting stuff done.
Exactly.
Directly from the landing page.
Yeah, and there have been quite a few tweaks. I believe I've spent like maybe a day on that. Just how to get that wizard to do many cool things, with as few buttons and everything as possible. So one of the things that we've been asked a lot about is the upload speed isn't so great, or I have files on Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that, and I'd like to use that instead of downloading to my hard drive and then uploading back, and then that speed is not really great. So can we do something about that? So with this new iteration of the booking experience, we wanted to make exactly that possible. So if you'll open the upload dialog, there's an option now to go from a Google Drive, Dropbox, or your own device, and the upload now is a much more smoother experience. Maybe you can show them a file or something.
Does this work already?
Yes, everything of that should be working. So,
oh, nice.
So
I'm not logged in at the moment, but
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but you can go from your device, just a WAV file. So why I wanted to show that is because now there's an ETA and quite a few tweaks. Do you have like a WAV file somewhere that
should be here? No, yeah. It's not.
Yeah, you have a very tidy computer, so
yeah.
So there are no extra files anywhere.
Okay, so here are the SSL test files.
Okay, cool.
But
so let's do one.
Upload raw.
Yeah, and it's uploading in the background. So if you look down, there's a progress bar. Yeah. There's also saying an ETA and how many megabytes it's done and so far. Now, if you close this just close it. Yeah, no, not this one. Just, yeah, like this. Okay, now go back. And it's actually doing the uploading in the background. Yeah.
Cool.
So even if you somehow, go out, it will do that. But also if the internet went down, and because it can happen so many times, you have this 200 megabyte file and you've uploaded 80% of it.
And it drops.
And then it drops, and then you have to do it again. That's never a good experience. So we've opted for a very nice solution where it's actually resumable. Resumability, it can go from Dropbox or Google Drive or web link if you have a file hosted somewhere and you just want to paste the link. And also it supports multiple files and multiple uploads at the same time, and quite a few improvements there actually. Thank you. Yes, water. So the next button is selecting the gear. Maybe you've seen in the current wizard that we have for selecting gear, there's more and more tabs, and we're running out of space for all the gear. But also in the future, we want to have configurable products. What that means is that you would be able to configure, for example, the Rec 1 and exchange the VCA compressor for the Fairchild, for example, or not have the Pultex in the signal path if you don't want to. So we call this configurable products, and we want to do that in the future. So making this a pop-up where there's a lot of space for more buttons and so on makes it possible for us to give you like options here where you could configure this more. So we wanted to make this everything, all of that to happen like the moment you come to mixanalog.com. You can do that. There's no extra fluff to go through, no extra buttons to click. Just go in, do your files, select the gear you want, and if you want to do it right now, that's it. Then just go on and start your session, and hopefully we will achieve our goals with that. And the idea is just to make this faster for you guys, easier. So going down on the web page, we wanted to make it more clear what Mixanalog is and who it's for. So we've made this little box with a few ideas. So like this is 3 ideas of types of people who would be interested in something like Mixanalog, and we want to make a page for each of them to feel, to address just their concerns. So if you're a music producer, especially electronic music producer, you may be speaking a very different language than someone who is a game music composer, or someone who is writing at home, like who's just a musician, or doing this as a hobby, like every second or third weekend of his month or whatever. So,
well, it's all of that actually derives from talking to you via the support chat or Facebook or any other channel that that you can reach us. So after a good year that we're running now, it's kind of culminating. The user groups are becoming apparent. They are different enough that you guys should have like a bit more focused attention from us on depending on how you identify or what your needs are particularly. So that's why we wanted to make this experience be a bit more shaped, so that we can tell you what Mixanalog is, just faster and more efficient and in your language. So there's just a few more ideas here on what to say, what to point out, or let's say it's kind of
what's the most important thing
FAQ.
Yeah, but just like the 3 most important features, like it has a sound, unlike most of the stuff you have if you have plugins. It's fully interactive, like different from just sending a file to someone and saying, please bounce this for your hardware, and then getting back a file and saying, oh, I wanted something else actually. Could you adjust this? With Mixanalogue, that's interactive, so that's another important feature. And it's got lossless streaming. It's HD, so it's like a real high def experience. Whereas you're only dealing with lossless files and getting bad. Like it's pro. It's like pro results. And then there's just a nice little step-by-step checklist on how to get started with Mixanalogue. A picture of the product and the brands that we work with, and yeah, some info about us. We're still working on this part, but so far we're liking that it's the landing itself is more condensed, and that it's like a funnel where if you just want to start working with Mixanalogue, you can do that right away. If you're more interested into what this is before you give us your email or something like that, or create an account, then there's space just for you. And okay, let's say I'm down with that, but how does this actually work? What do I have to do? Is there like something I need to download and install? Is it gonna be super hard for me? It's just, okay, yeah, it's easy, and this is how it looks. Okay, so I get it. It's like a DAW, but it's in a web browser or something. I have a laptop, so this seems to be something for me.
Yeah, that looks like a laptop.
Yeah, that looks like a laptop. So that was the idea on the redesign, and actually we're trying to make it a little more friendly for search engines too, so that people can find us faster, and also to learn about the gear in a less weird way than now, because the information about the gear, if you've ever taken a look at our webpage in the past year,
yeah,
the information there is like super just walls of text to pictures.
Yeah, there's a lot of info on the gear, but it's on two
super
different
technical and
two different places in two different sizes. So yeah, it was a bit confusing.
It is a bit confusing. Yeah, and we've tried to make that maybe a little less confusing by going into this direction, whereas every piece of gear would have like a customized landing page where you could get some information, not too much about it, but the most important thing is to have a video tutorial about that product, about that piece of gear right here, so that you can have that information about what to expect, what sort of sounds does it make, what's it for, immediately in a very easy to digest format. The video, I think, works best because then you see how it's used.
Okay. Did you guys ever think of doing an automated service like Lander but with real gear?
So there is a service that does that. It's called Aria Mastering, right? They have real analog gear, and they're doing stuff like Lander, in terms that they have an algorithm that figures out the settings to apply to the analog gear, but you're not in control of what actually happens. You can't say, I want a different ratio on the bus compressor or whatever, but you can select, I think, between 3 different presets, something like that. So it exists. And of course, it's not streaming, it's not real time, and so on. So there are many differences between what we do and what they do. But it's, I believe that spot has kind of been filled. And if we were to go into that direction, we'd want to do it better.
Yeah.
We'd want to be much better than that. With Mixanalogue as it is right now, I think there's just so many things we can do to improve
the existing
stuff that we have, which is interactive. You're in control. You get to turn the knobs. You get to decide everything. But there's like so many more things that we can do with that bring you more gear, give you more features, give you better monitoring, like metering and monitoring tools, give you offline bounds and stuff like that. So a lot of work to do there before we consider something automated. But to tell you the truth, we will do we will do something in terms of auto gain and stuff like that. So some easy little helper utilities that could maybe even be powered by some sort of very simple AI, but are there just to set the knobs for you and mostly just to save you time. So
yeah, the let's say the most or the probably first dab into AI or assisted service that we are going to do is at least to some extent automating the gain staging. For those of you who are unsure about what levels to exit out of the converter and how to set the thresholds and make up gains and compressors, this is the first thing that we are probably going to try and solve by automating at least this aspect of...
Yes, because I also think, many times you can be fooled by the difference in volume. And to have something to help you listen to the material at the same volume and judge what you've done in that sort of manner will actually help you become a better engineer and make a better product. So, but we don't want to hide those buttons from you. We don't want to hide the thresholds and the input gains and the output gains from you. We just want to give you like a utility that will set that for you, and then you can tweak from there as you like. And it wouldn't be like a default, it would be something that you'd have to choose from a menu or something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of a, let's say, a dumbed down version of the Isotopes mastering assistant.
Yeah, that one does many more things.
It's much smarter than just setting thresholds.
Yeah.
But it's still... what it does is the same concept. It prepares the tedious and boring tasks for you. So when you start actually using your brain to make your song sound better, you are tweaking stuff that AI could not figure at that moment.
Yeah, or you don't want to figure or to attempt to figure, because it may be like leading you down a path, that you'd rather explore on your own. There's a lot of fun in looking for sounds and figuring out what works without that being done for you. So, and I think it would be also, a bit semi-dangerous to put people who are just learning right now, give them like
the fully automated
Lander
experience.
style. It's done. This is it. And I think it's better to give them all the tools, all the knobs, try, experiment, find the sounds you like, compare with what's been done already, and then figure out how, if you want something like that, how to get there. Because, Mix Analog, and even more maybe Dystopic, the company that's making Mix Analog, is quite a lot about education of the engineering values in audio. Like we want there to be less, to be honest, marketing bullshit out there about plugins versus analog, about this kind of compressor versus that kind of compressor. Are tubes better? Is FET better? Is VCA the best kind of technology to achieve? But that's the kind of things you read on the internet, right? And if you started out right now, you'd be flooded with this information.
Yeah, that's true.
And a Mix Analog is, for us, a tool that we made also to put those things to rest, so that you can figure that out for yourself. In your sweet spot, on your material, on your settings, you can figure out if it's really, something that you need. And if so, then it's here for you. But if not, then you can go to sleep peacefully, knowing that what you have is exactly what you need. And there's no need to obsess over something you can't get.
Okay.
Okay.
We've covered quite a lot.
We have.
So if there's no more questions,
Yeah.
it's been an hour, so.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What? Wait another minute, maybe.
Yeah.
And while we wait, we can still return to the point of the VCA compressor shootout.
Oh yeah. Did we? I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think we just got another question and got it dropped into the rabbit hole. So yeah, we've made quite an extensive shootout, or I kind of loathe to call it a shootout because.
But it's a good way to call it though.
We were intentionally not passing any judgment on the result.
True.
Because there's a lot of people making those comparisons and then like deciding that this is the best compressor you can get and all others are worse and whatever. But the point is, the best compressor is the one that fits your material and fits your ear or your goal of
your aesthetic.
Your aesthetic. And there's no such thing as one winner for bus compression, because then we would eventually get to one compressor that would be installed in every mixing console and that's it.
And that's it, yeah.
And one plugin.
God forbid.
But that's not the case. So it's more of a case of giving you, as we are trying to do with all the online automated analog gear, we are trying to provide you with a place or a blog post that will just broaden your horizons. So you'll just walk away wiser of what's available, what are the colors that are available to you to color your mix the way you wanted it to sound in the first place. So yeah, it was revealing.
Yeah.
It was surprising at times, because in comparing the units that at least I expected that they would be very, very, very similar because they are all trying to do the same thing basically. It's very funny to find such huge differences.
Yeah, but that's just great because then you can actually have your own take on that. As a prospective user of a bus compressor, you owe it to yourself, to check this out, see what's out there, see what captures your imagination best, what you think could work best on your material, and go for that. So the files are on our Google Drive, and they have been posted on the Facebook page of Mix Analog. So that's where you can get them. There's a blog post also that Ziga wrote about it, that you can find on our blog, and there are links to all of the individual compressors as well as to the files themselves. And this is actually not like a finished library.
Yeah,
right?
we're still waiting for a couple of samples to arrive.
Right.
For example, we actually dug up a guy very nearby that has a original 4000 SSL console. I think it's a G variant.
Yeah, that one's a G.
He is willing to do the samples for us, so we'll actually get the original
and the
SSL 4K.
And the 9000 as well.
Yeah,
right?
the SSL 9000J.
So that would be super interesting because then you can try the super analog 9000 version, the old 4000G original. There's also the gold can VCA from Mix Analog and Ziga's very own GSSL clone that he built. So that's just hardware. And then there are many more plug-in emulations from T-Rex, Waves, and so on. So a lot of variety. And what I wanted to say, though, is that it's not the end. When new kind of plugins that do that or hardware comes to light that we can actually get our hands on, or maybe someone from the community can run the samples through. We will add them to this library and hope to make like a really comprehensive, one-stop shop where you can compare these compressors, without any sort of bias or whatever. Even though one of the compressors was, from our company and one of them was from Ziga, they are all following the exact same methodology, and we didn't pick a sample to favor anything or anything like that. It was just, very scientific and unbiased. So
yeah, the original source file. So if you're unsure about a certain hardware unit or plugin that you think it's not performing as it should, with those settings that are in the description of how to do the comparison, there are instruction and source files that you can file on your own, you can follow on your own, and try it out. So it's repeatable, it's reproducible.
Yep.
Because we wanted to make it at least a little bit scientific and unbiased as much as possible. So it's a fair game for.
Yeah, it's fair game for everyone, and just there will certainly be more and more manufacturers out there trying this legendary SSL bus compressor, trying their hand at it, and there will always be questions. How does it fit into this picture of the other guys? Is it like this one, like this one? Is it, if it's 2 times cheaper, is it really going to be worse? Or maybe if it's 4 times more expensive, is it really that good for my material, for my aesthetic? Well, hopefully this library will be able to answer those questions now and in the future.
And with that, I think we've covered everything planned for today.
We have, there are no more questions right now, so
no more new questions.
We'll be saying goodbye. It's been great. Too bad we missed one, but we'll try not to do that anymore. The next one will also be from SoundHub, right?
Yep, sure. Next week.
So see you guys next week, same place, same time.
Yeah.
And if you have like any questions or suggestions about Mixanalog, just drop them in the online chat or email us or anything like that. We read everything, so don't be shy.
Okay, so enjoy your week and see you next one.
Cheers, bye-bye.